For this video, this word means that word. I recently learned something about my high school. You know how in high school, bathrooms are sort of like the safe zones for students? Whether they're about to smoke or have a good old slapbox match? Apparently, people were also doing... Guys, high schoolers are supposed to be overachievers. We're supposed to be, quote unquote, good noodles. But not only are some of y'all so desperate for a good tickling session that you're doing it in public, you're doing it in the most unhygienic places. People piss in there. Where's your dignity? Who wants to be known for getting fadoodled in a dirty bathroom? And I say known for because if you're fadoodling, that's not going to be a secret between y'all for much longer. Because there's a good chance you or whoever you fadoodled are probably going to brag to their friends with a big old grin on their face and say something like, "Guys, I just fadoodled Jennifer." Or maybe they'll have that cool and chill persona and smack their lips before saying something like, "Yeah, I fadoodled her. That's what's up." Whatever their approach is, their friends are definitely gonna have their mouths wide open in silence for a bit before going, "Yo, that's wild!" But in actuality, that's fadoodling gross, and it's not something to be proud of. So there's a few things to consider when you're tempted to bust something that day. Anyway, that whole thing wasn't even why I made this video. I watched this. What's something you've done that you never told your parents? And spoiler alert, most of these kids said that they fadoodled. Which, that's not surprising. I would hear things like someone getting sucked behind a staircase or something. But the shocking part to me was how many kids said that they fadoodled. Because it wasn't just 3 or 4 answers, it was a majority. So this raised some questions. Because you might think it's a few naughty apples, but in reality it's a whole tree of them getting a gawk. And in some cases they get it from the same person, but we're just going to leave that alone. So then I started thinking, how many kids at my school were fadoodling? I thought for the most part we were pretty innocent, minus the fighting, cursing, a bunch of other stuff. But when it came to the importance of keeping our V cards, I figured the majority of us would be professionals. At most, 25% of us would be offering up their special liquid. But I'm aware that I'm not the most qualified person to assume how many people fadoodle, far from it. So knowing this, I asked a few other friends for their input. And my 25% started looking pretty optimistic. I thought I was off by like 5 or 15%, but nah. The first answer I got was 50. I thought there were more get noodles. After that, I asked a bunch of other friends for their insight and calculated the average. The lowest percentage anyone gave me was a 3. And that's about the only thing saving this average. Because when you have answers like 60%, you start to question how tainted your school actually was. I added up all our answers, calculated, and the percentage of people we think to be sexually active at our school is 35.875%. 25% of us would, at most, for the most part we were pretty innocent. At most, 25% of us, 25% of us we were pretty innocent. 25% of us would be offering up their special liquid. So I'm kind of curious to see how that number compares to other schools. So if you're in high school, or any school, or college for that matter, ask your friends how many people they think fadoodle, and compare those results to mine. Put them down in the comments. I'm curious about them. Alright, that's it. Later.